Hello, and welcome back to the Nourish with Purpose podcast. It's Bailey, and I hope you're having a great Wednesday or whenever you're listening to today's episode. On today's episode, I have on Riley. Now, she is an esthetician and a skin expert, and I really just wanted to have somebody on to talk about acne because I feel like there are so many different modalities out there, so many different trends and products that you can buy. But it was really reassuring to hear her talk about how crucial it is that you're focusing on your internal environment, in addition, obviously, to doing things topically. Now, things that we talk about in today's podcast are obviously going to be specific to you and your skin type and what your skin needs. And working with an esthetician like Riley would be the best way to probably figure out what your skin needs or at least identify your skin type. But that doesn't go to say there aren't a lot of internal factors that can contribute to acne. And we really talk mostly about acne on today's episode, which is why I'm bringing that up. I think when it comes to those internal factors, right, we're thinking about drinking mineral-rich water, we're thinking about getting good sleep, managing stress, eating minimally processed foods, focusing on whole foods, eating foods that work with you, meeting deficiencies through blood work or labs. That's something she touched on briefly, but doing blood work, seeing where hormonal ranges are at, looking at how that changes throughout your cycle, or looking at nutrient deficiencies that come up in blood work. There's so many ways that you can support your internal environment, and I really just wanted to talk about that a little bit before we get on, and I have Riley as the guest because that's a piece of the puzzle that is huge, and until you're willing to do the internal work, I really feel like it's hard to focus so much on the external. And this isn't to say, that you need to have all of those things perfect, but you should be focusing on them. The thing that I often say is, especially nutritionally, foundationally, if you aren't doing those things, maybe your next best step is not to invest a lot in skincare, invest a lot in supplements. Maybe you just need to do the foundations, get that under control, and then help out your estheticians, help out your personal trainers, help out your physical therapists and the red light therapy. Like all of that will help if you do the foundations. And I do have a course. It's an independent course that you can actually run through that'll help you kind of establish the foundations and get really nitty gritty on what your goals are for your health, what it looks like to get there, and how you can begin integrating those foundations into your lifestyle. So I'm going to have that linked in the description of today's episode if you're interested in checking that out. Again, that's an independent course. What I do more so with clients one-on-one is very, very specific to you. However, we always focus on those foundations first before we even jump too extreme into anything else. So wanted to give that little preface at the beginning of today's episode. Another piece too, if you have yet to leave a 5-star rating or review on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I would love if you did that. It just helps me out a lot in getting the podcast into more listeners' ears, and it makes my day truly to read reviews and get feedback on what you're loving about the podcast. So let's get into real quickly the segment of how I'm nourishing my mind, body, and spirit. How I am nourishing my mind, truthfully, is getting into bed a little bit earlier, maybe reading a book, or just spending kind of like that 30 minutes before bed, not on a screen. Shocker. I always wear my red light glasses, but really having I wouldn't even say it's a boundary around technology, but having my phone plugged in a different room, charging, not sleeping with it close to my bed, having it on airplane mode if it is close to my bed has been really helpful. How I am nourishing my body. I really feel like how I'm nourishing my body right now is looking at, and you guys, this is not going to be a shocker. Honestly, I'm such a habitual person that these things are consistently probably what I talk about, but I've been putting castor oil either on like a castor oil pack, or been doing castor oil in my belly button for the last probably 3 months. Yeah, I'm about 3 months postpartum. So it was about that week after I delivered Oliver, I started doing castor oil packs, and then that was staining all of my shirts, really with the goal for liver support. So your hormones are metabolized in your liver, so you for me, I knew my hormones were probably all over the place and I wanted to support them. And so that looked like supporting my liver. So I did castor oil pack. Well, that was obviously, I really, really feel like it was working. I really did not have any, I shouldn't say any, but I had minimal like mood swings or mood issues postpartum. A variety of factors. I'm not going to say it's just because of the castor oil, because that's not the case, but castor oil, eating well, drinking water, moving my body, having emotional support with my husband and family, like that's a huge, all of those are factors, of course, but the castor oil pack I really feel like helped. It was staining all of my shirts, and I'm like, I think my liver has, when I started then be about 30 days postpartum, I'm going to get blood work done to look at hormone levels now postpartum, but I know you kind of want to wait a little bit after you have a baby to see where hormones are at. And I'm like, I think my liver's pretty well supported. So then I started just doing castor oil in my belly button and putting like a cover over it. And I really think it's helped a lot with like regularity. Postpartum pooping, TMI, but it can get kind of weird, especially while your body's healing and you're bleeding. It's like, you can never really know when to anticipate it. So castor oil in my belly button has helped a lot, I would say, with that. And now it's just habit. I really love how I feel. I feel like I wake up and don't feel so swollen and puffy. And that kind of happens naturally when you sleep. But I really just feel like my body's pretty efficient right now. And it's been healing really, really well. And then how I am nourishing my spirit, I actually downloaded the app Glorify. I'm going to double check that that's what it's called. Yeah, Glorify. And what I love about this, so I used to have the Bible app and I tried to go through like different devotionals on the Bible app, and I just really had a hard time being consistent with it. And honestly, using my phone to do my devotional and Bible time is not ideal, but it's truly at this season of life what I feel like I can do. And I don't want that to sound like I'm not prioritizing my faith, but it just has to look different. It has to look like something that I probably can access at any time because I'm in different locations. Right now I'm working at my parents'. They have like a little shed out back that they've refinished, and that is my office now until my husband moves out to his office. So I'm kind of all over the place now that I'm back into kind of the swing of working. This week has been kind of the first week I felt like I have a pretty structured normal routine. And so I need something I can access at any time. And that just happens to be on my phone. And so the Glorify app has been really nice because it gives you a quote, a like excerpt from the Bible, some verses, and then it gives you a devotional to follow it. And you really just read it through, or you can have them read it to you. And I've been loving that. I've been able to be very consistent with that. And sometimes I'll do it with Nathan if we're both at home and not working at the same time. Otherwise, I've been doing it independently, and that has been really helpful, like I said, for this season of life where I don't feel like I've honestly put the effort towards finding a devotional or finding excerpts from the Bible to read and really reflect on. I just needed something that I could go to every single day to build this habit, and then hopefully it evolves and advances from here, which is really, I think, how every habit is, right? It's like we just have to get in the action. I was actually just talking to a client today about this, of like, she had gotten to the gym consistently for the last 2 weeks. And, I told her, I'm like, I'm really, really proud of you. It's incredible. But I'm honestly the most proud of you for just showing up, because I'm sure every single day, maybe it wasn't the best workout ever. Maybe it was shorter or longer. But the habit that I'm concerned about you building is just getting to the gym, right? Just doing it. And then from there, you can advance it. From there, you can be more consistent. But this is somebody who she shared with me multiple times. She's kind of an all or nothing person. And so I'm like, now that you've shown me and you've shown yourself you can be consistent with the action of going to the gym, now I'm going to hold you to that because I know you're capable of it. And there's so many factors at play there, but it's just like establishing the habit, right? And it doesn't always look perfect, and it doesn't always maybe look how you want it to look in the future, but for right now, it's what works. And that is what's working for me. All right, so that's about it for today's catch up. Again, if you're interested in establishing foundations that I kind of refer a lot to in today's episode, I have a course that you can do on your own independently linked down below. Otherwise, I have all of Riley's resources where you can get connected with her, follow her on Instagram, linked below in today's podcast episode as well. So with that, let's get into today's episode with Riley. On today's episode, I actually have a guest. I'm having on Riley. She's an esthetician and skin expert, and I really just wanted to dive into the topic of acne and different skin conditions from both a topical and an internal perspective. I feel like I see a lot of clients or work with people, talk with people that struggle with acne, and I felt like she'd be a great person to have on to really dive into that conversation. So, Riley, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to share some of my knowledge and help some people out.
Yeah, so I want to start first with just what got you into being an esthetician? Like take us back many, many years. Why did you decide to take this route?
So, what kind of brought me into the beauty industry was as a child, I was very, like most other girls in their like preteens and teenage years, more insecure and especially about like looks. And I struggled with acne personally and had some anxiety. So it had me I was doing a lot of like skin picking through
Mhm.
anxiety. And so as I went through high school, I kind of was super interested because nothing really seemed to work for me. And I started using a whole bunch of harsh acne treatments, which led to a damaged skin barrier and scarring. And that just makes your insecurities even worse. So when I realized how important skin education is, I really wanted to dive deep into seeing if I could do that as a career because I wanted to help myself out and help other people be able to be more confident in their early ages rather than going through what I had to go through and not finding anything that worked for a really long time. And so then I started cosmetology school and I really loved the beauty industry. I did hair for a couple years. And then after that, I, or during, while I was doing hair, I started getting my master esthetician license because that was really my main goal. And after that, I just absolutely fell in love. So I've been doing master aesthetics since then, since I got my license. And yeah, I really feel like I have gained a lot of self-confidence in myself. And I love the fact that through school I've realized that I'm not alone. And I felt alone in a lot of those years. And so um yeah, it's really awesome to be able to share my story and help others with their skin and their being more confident in their beauty. And yeah.
Mhm. What age were you when you first started noticing like breakouts and acne?
I I'd have to say probably the later years in elementary school.
Hmm.
So like starting around 5th grade, 6th grade-ish,
Yeah.
which is kind of young. People don't, well, I guess that's when you kind of start the puberty stages in life, and that's when hormonal hormones start coming into play. And um so that's, I feel like, when I first started, but I wasn't able to cure any of my acne from hormones or really understand what was really going on
Mhm.
until later in high school.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I was in fifth grade too. And I felt like I mean, I did feel so self-conscious because it's like you try to cover it up with makeup, but you're not really wearing makeup in fifth grade. But like the
Right.
makeup's probably making it worse because it's from the drugstore and it's not great quality. Yeah, there's a lot of years in there where you can be very self-conscious of what it looks like. So then with that, you said until you got into like your later years of high school. So what was it then for you that you found that worked?
So I would have to say before learning and getting educated about skincare, what started to help with my acne was first off not picking.
Hmm.
I was a
It's so
huge
hard not to
skin
do.
seeker. I know. And then also being um, like nourished,
Hmm.
eating a better balanced diet, not eating so much sugar like you do as a kid.
Hmm.
Um, and then exercising a lot, sweating helps release toxins from your body. And after doing that, if you're cleansing very well after you're sweating, then you're really just releasing all of the toxins and possible buildup that can lead to breakouts. And then other than other than a good diet and not picking at my face, really just being super gentle. I actually stopped all acne treatments and I wouldn't even use any acne products because I thought it would just like ruin my skin.
Hmm.
And I have more of the dry skin and I live in a dry climate. And so I think that some acne products were just too harsh
Hmm.
and they would damage my skin barrier. So I just really cleansed and moisturized and it started to slowly um, improve from
Hmm.
there.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned diet too, because that's a huge piece of the puzzle that I feel from a nutritional perspective is like, what are we eating to help topically or to help with maybe the appearance of acne? But I know there's also sometimes, or in some cases, would you say there's where you need to be doing both? So like the internal work, but then also external, like topical products?
Yeah. And most of the time, most cases, you need both.
Hmm.
You can't fix a problem without both.
Yeah.
And really understanding the root cause of a certain skin condition like acne, there's lots of root causes and there's lots of triggers. And the
Hmm.
triggers may seem like the root cause, but it's different and really understanding and diving deep into maybe changing lifestyle ways and figuring out what the real root cause is can make a lasting improvement rather than just a band-aid like a treatment.
Hmm. Right. So then how do you work with clients to treat the root cause or find out what that root cause is?
So most of the time for me, I I ask them a lot of questions about what products they're using at home
Hmm.
because sometimes if they're using really harsh products, that can just make the acne worse. It can damage their skin barrier, and then acne is just super high prone. And then after that, I asked them what products they're using. I asked them about like their exercise and lifestyle, if they're very stressed all the time, how their sleeping habits are, and then also um, like hormone cycles, if their acne is consistent and present, or if it's around their cycle. And then and and then the last thing I would just ask is exercise and diet. It really is a huge sum of everything.
Hmm.
And once you can figure out like, okay, we're eating really well, and maybe we're super stressed at work all the time though, and we're not exercising and we're not taking care of ourselves. Maybe it's a self-care aspect that could be leading to the acne and the breakouts rather than just the topicals that you're using or even diet sometimes isn't the case.
Hmm. Hmm. So if you notice like it maybe peaks around like different periods of their cycle, do you
Yeah.
link that to like maybe deficiencies or what would you say like, or I guess how would you treat that then if you know it's consistently coming at the same time every month?
Yeah. Um, the main thing that I start with, because it's the easiest route to go from, is a topical. I'll also usually start them on the week before their cycle. I'll have them use a acne cleanser once or twice a week that week before, and then I'll have them start using an antibacterial and antiviral serum.
Mm.
And usually that will help improve because the acne, or sorry, the
You're good.
acne caused by bacteria is the main thing with hormones, as well as the main cause of acne, especially hormonal acne, is inflammation.
Hmm.
So making sure that they're eating not eating foods that aren't super processed and like maybe icing their face a little bit in the morning and at night. So to reduce the inflammation. And then during their cycle, just keep that up until they either don't have any acne or until it goes away.
Hmm. Okay, so it's really interesting to hear you talk about like the bacterial component being linked to like the hormonal acne aspect. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I'm super intrigued, like how those two are connected.
Yeah, so bacteria is you usually see it in hormone changes and fluctuations, which it's mostly caused from hormones, and hormones are a trigger to bring out that bacteria, and bacteria will stay in the skin if there's inflammation. And so basically, in hormone changes and fluctuations, you'll see more bacterial acne.
Hmm.
and really the main thing that you can do with that is just really looking at your gut health and trying to improve some of your products to make sure that they're not causing or making it worse. And
Hmm.
then also, if it's really consistent or just super chronic, then I would recommend like getting your hormones checked, getting some blood work, seeing if you're deficient in things, seeing if that is some kind of cause to that's leading to the
Hmm.
bacteria and the hormonal acne.
Hmm. Yeah, well, and it's interesting too, because I feel like with hormonal fluctuations, like your cravings can also follow that too. So, like, you might see
Yes,
clients of like, well, yeah, before your period, you're breaking out, but also you ate, I don't know, a lot of ice cream or a lot of sugar, high sugar content foods,
definitely.
because those tend to be like really comforting too emotionally.
Yes, yes. Or like a lot of fast food, a lot of
Yeah.
processed food. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like that might be, I guess from your perspective, is it hard when the clients come in and you see like maybe there's a lot of like nutritional changes that need to be met, but like you focus really on, I feel like with what you do, it's like the whole picture. But when people come to you, do they typically assume like it's just like the topical cure and they maybe don't consider diet or lifestyle as even a factor?
Yes, definitely. Most people, I don't think, do consider lifestyle and diet as a
Mhm.
factor at all. And when I bring it up, sometimes clients don't really want to hear it because they maybe just know that that is the problem and they don't want to admit to it, and they are looking for something else that they can do, which is really hard. And so sometimes clients don't want to accept that, but I do think that it's something that a lot of people don't realize, and it should be more made well known.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like I mean, there's so many factors for why obviously maybe they're having acne, but you're like one piece of the puzzle. And I feel like it's also probably helpful when you have people that can also touch on the nutrition side. Or I know you talked about working at a med spa. Like you probably have a lot of different services that you can also recommend to this client, even though like you're focusing on one sliver, there's a huge, I mean, it's just a bigger picture issue, right? And so
Right.
finding what also they feel comfortable with too, because like you said, I think a lot of the times with acne, maybe they know, and you mentioned this, that they're not eating the best, but they think, well, if I got a serum or a cream or if I go get a facial twice a month, like it should clear up regardless of what the diet is. But would you say in your experience is that most likely not the case? Like diet and lifestyle really does have to accompany the work that you do?
Yeah, I would have to say that is a big factor that people don't fully understand. And sometimes they're like, I've been coming to you for so long, and why isn't my acne being cured? And I'm like, okay, well, first off, you're not taking my advice,
Mm-hmm.
and which is really hard. I hate to be like the bearer of bad news, but sometimes it's things that you can't control in a spa.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's things that you can do, like in the med spa side, we can do like chemical peels and lasers and microneedling to reduce the scarring
Mm-hmm.
that's been caused. But first, you can't fix those things until first you've fixed the problem, which
Mm-hmm.
is the constant acne.
Right.
So
Right. So then I guess from a topical perspective, if somebody comes to you and maybe they have a lot of breakouts and you've talked about diet and you've talked about lifestyle and now it's like, okay, what products would you recommend? Like, what would your initial kind of protocol be for somebody if they have consistent breakouts and they're working on the other pieces and they want support from a topical perspective?
definitely. Um, the first thing, a lot of clients don't want to buy a full skincare line.
Mhm.
They don't want to buy every single product all right there. It can get pricey, which I totally understand. So I always say start with a gentle cleanser and a gentle moisturizer. If they have either combination skin, normal skin, dry skin, oily skin, get a gentle cleanser and moisturizer for that skin type. Start with that and then add a serum. In my personal opinion, a serum is the main source of treatment. It's going to create the biggest impact, especially if you're using it either once or twice a day
Mhm.
or however many times a week. So I usually have them start with a gentle moisturizer, gentle cleanser, and then a serum. And then on top of that, maybe a treatment cleanser as well. And with acne, it's usually a salicylic acid or fulvic acid, which is going to help the best with the acne. So I'll usually have them start with that.
Mhm. Do you have any specific brands that you really like that would be like a clean alternative?
Yeah, are you asking for like a professional grade or a product line that you can get from like the store?
Let's do one of each because I feel like it would
Okay.
help like with both types. Like if you maybe have, yeah, want to do something from a drugstore first, but then also in your experience, like seeing a professional sometimes is most often is probably the best route. So let's do both.
Yeah. Um, I mostly work with the skincare line Glymed,
Okay.
and it's an online store, and I sell it at my spa and through my Instagram. That's my main. I use it on my at my house. I've purchased almost every single product and I've used them on either me or my boyfriend who has completely opposite skin as me. And so I've really tested and tried all of their products and I've really like a majority of them. That's the main skincare line that I really like, but I've also seen some clients who have been using La Roche-Posay
Hmm.
from the drugstore. Um and that one is that one's pretty good for a drugstore product. It's created in a good way. It doesn't have a lot of like all these extra additive ingredients that don't really do anything. It is going to be like the best brand in my personal opinion that I trust for helping with the skin. So those are the two brands that I like.
Okay. Do you kind of quake when you see people use skin tallow? Because I know, like, in the holistic, or not skin tallow, beef tallow for their skin. Because
Yeah,
I feel like from a crunchy perspective, everybody really pushes it. But from a esthetician perspective, I've seen some more negative reviews. So I'm curious what your opinion is on skin or on beef tallow.
there is no clinically or scientific evidence that it does anything good for the skin.
Hmm.
So I don't necessarily. Yes, if you're asking if I cringe when people tell me they use it, yes. But it's actually less people than I realize. It's
Okay.
pushed a lot on social media, but
Hmm.
I don't really see a lot of people using it in the real world, in my
Hmm.
personal experience. And honestly, I think it's just a more occlusive moisturizer.
Hmm.
If people do use it, it's working for them, maybe they just need a better moisturizer, but it also doesn't have the greatest ingredients in it to prevent acne or something like that. So I don't personally love that trend,
Right.
but I can't like judge people or like get mad at them for using a product
Hmm.
because maybe they're just not educated. And and I can't tell somebody if something's working for them that it's bad for them if it's working for them, you know?
Yeah. That's what's so hard about skin is because everybody, I mean, there's maybe like three types of like skin types, like dry, oily, and then combination of skin. And I feel like finding what works for certain people is like all across the board. Like for me, like if I'm going to use a tallow product, I would typically do it like on my body, but I've used it on my face for a while and I had made some at home and I was like very much like tallow is the reason my skin is glowy, whatever, whatever. And then I like would look closer at my skin and I had little bumps all over and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like that's probably, I mean, that's not obviously normal. That shouldn't probably be happening. So I stopped using it and switched to different products that are more, I would say, like a, I don't know, I didn't get it from an esthetician, but a better alternative, not like a animal based, I guess, skincare product. And my
Uh-huh.
skin completely cleared up. And so it's like, it's hard because you see those trends and you're like, okay, I'm going to try it. And I really did think that was like why my skin looked good. But then, like, from looking at it a little bit closer, I'm like, okay, yeah, like it's really not working maybe how I think it is or as well as I think it is. Um,
Right.
so it's just interesting because, like you said, you can't judge people for using something that they think works. And would you say that's one of the hardest parts about your job is like there are so many different products out there and so many different things that do work for people, but maybe they're still having a persistent issue?
Yes. That is a big issue, I would say. Not necessarily issue, but it's hard to comprehend that there's just so much out there and so many different people are giving different advice, especially on social media, and people like to follow the trends, but
Hmm.
maybe it's not long term good, but maybe like with you, felt like you saw a difference and so you really like the product, but maybe it's helping something but not helping a different thing. And
Hmm.
so I get a lot of clients actually who use just bar soap that they use on their body, on their face. And that was like the wildest thing for me. But but they're like, "Yeah, I just do that and then I put my body lotion on my face too." And I'm like, "Okay, let's."
We need to reevaluate here.
Yes. I'm like, "Okay." I and they're like, "Yeah, I know it's not the greatest thing for my skin, but I just really haven't." And a lot of people don't have the desire or care to maybe try other things,
Mhm.
but they are coming to you for a reason, whether it's for some kind of advice. So you got to start them slow. Maybe say, okay, well, let's just get you on something specific for your face and see it. It can be a drugstore product, it can be a professional product, but something that isn't made for the body,
Mhm.
because your skin on your face is more sensitive and more prone to acne and other skin conditions.
Mhm.
So just starting low and slow, and you don't want to push something really crazy for somebody who clearly sometimes doesn't really have the passion or desire or care like we do as
Yes.
estheticians.
Yes. Have you seen that? I think you have to get it prescription, but it's some sort of like comes in a bottle, and I think it's made for, oh, and I'm not gonna know what it's made for, but they use it on their face. I feel like it's like a shampoo that they've been prescribed, like a prescription shampoo that they also use on their face to help with acne.
Um,
It's fine if
I
not.
don't,
I feel like I had a roommate in college that used that, and she like went to the
yeah,
dermatologist and they prescribed like a shampoo for her to use on her face.
okay. It might be like a fungal or dermatitis thing,
Yes.
but and typically that's the like shampoo is used for like the scalp if you
Hmm.
have like a fungal or dermatitis, but some people, and maybe I don't know if for sure, but some dermatologists might prescribe it for the face, maybe if there's like a gentler product. I'm not entirely sure, but
Yeah. No, that's fine.
I wouldn't put it past someone
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
use.
Well, and like you were saying, there's so much out there and so many like different modalities people have tried and then maybe seen success with. And I guess with the skin too, like if somebody's historically been on Accutane, I know that can
Mhm.
be really, really like like hard on the skin. So if they were to come to you from like a rebuilding perspective, I know you've talked about like the skin barrier. Guess what would
Yes.
you recommend to somebody who's maybe been on Accutane, they've freshly gotten off of it, and they're looking to help kind of rebuild that skin barrier?
Okay. Accutane is hard
Mhm.
because in my personal opinion, this isn't for everyone. Even other estheticians kind of like don't see eye to eye on this subject, but I think it's more of a band-aid treatment.
Mhm.
Sometimes it can be used as like even prescription medications. People kind of learn how to fix their problem while on a medication and it helps them, but it doesn't solve the problem altogether,
Mhm.
in my personal opinion. And so it can help you, but it does do a lot to the skin that can, yeah, damage the barrier or not keep it strong. And what I would do from there would probably be being super gentle, still gentle cleanser, gentle moisturizer. I would add as well a gentle exfoliant if they
Mhm.
haven't been exfoliating. Exfoliation is really great to do once or twice a week to first off remove dead skin cells and help clear the skin, as well as that exfoliation can help build the skin barrier because
Mm.
it's kind of like a very, very gentle form of a skin treatment that does a it almost damages the skin barrier a little bit so that it can strengthen. So doing so in my opinion, exfoliating kind of wakens up the collagen and elastin in your skin as well, which is why you say as you get older, you exfoliate more often because you lose collagen and elastin as you get older. So you
Okay.
exfoliate more as you get older to kind of make sure they're still awake, make sure
Mhm.
they're producing as much as they need to keep that strong, healthy skin.
Okay. That's really interesting. That it like works because I feel like I've maybe noticed that too. If I use an exfoliant, it's like my skin maybe feels, and maybe this isn't normal, you can correct me, but like feels maybe a little bit dry for like a few days to a week, and then like it
Yeah.
rebuilt and it was really soft, and like my skin started to look more hydrated. Like, is that
Yeah.
normal for that to happen?
Yes,
Okay.
I would say that's normal. Especially if you're exfoliating with like a harsh exfoliant, because exfoliation shouldn't make your skin feel like super dry and damaged afterwards.
Yeah.
It should be gentle enough. Um, but I would recommend doing like a good moisturizing very well after exfoliating. And then one thing that I forgot to mention is after using Accutane, I sometimes also start my clients trying to use like a retinol
Mm.
after using Accutane, like kind of switching over to that because it's a little bit more gentle. And what retinol does is it helps boost cellular renewal. So it will help kind of, instead of your skin regenerating every 28 to 30 days, it'll renew a little bit faster than that. And
Okay.
so that can also help with rebuilding the skin barrier. But then retinol also can sometimes be too much. So getting a lower percentage of retinol and slowly even going off of that
Hmm.
to build the skin barrier and to have just strong, healthy skin without using super harsh topicals.
Yeah. Gosh, there are so many factors. I feel like it might be helpful to like talk through like the purpose of each thing. You've talked about like a cleanser, an exfoliant, a serum,
Yeah.
and then a moisturizer. Like, could you walk us through like even if it's your skincare routine or what you maybe use the most, like what process would you recommend like in the morning and then in the evening and like the products to accompany that? I feel like that'd be very
Okay.
helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I have to just reiterate my skin type
Yeah.
if I'm going to go through like my personal skincare routine. So I have very dry skin and so I get really dry flakes in my skin, as well as I feel like I'm a little bit more acne prone.
Mhm.
So for my skin care routine, and I live in a dry climate as well, which does not help. But in the morning, I usually just take like a cotton round and I'll wipe my face with a wet cotton round. I don't like to cleanse in the morning because I feel like it just strips my skin of its natural oils.
Mm-hmm.
And some people hate that I say that, but I don't honestly love washing my skin twice a day, every day. Sometimes I do it in the morning, especially if I'm showering. But using a more gentle moisturizing cleanser in the morning if I do. And then from there, I will typically do a serum that is either hydrating or a tyrosinase inhibitor. And a tyrosinase inhibitor, for those of you who don't know, is is a product that inhibits the melanocytes in the skin so that it stops sun damage and sunspots. It won't make people with darker skin lighter skin. It will
Mm-hmm.
just stop the sun-induced pigment, which can help reduce the leading like cancer.
Yeah.
So like melanoma, it will also help with that. So and then also if I'm like closer in my cycle in that period of time, then I'll do a antibacterial serum, which I'll just mention this one because I love it so much. It's called the Restoring Fulvic Elixir from Glymed. And I love that product, especially fulvic acid in my personal experience has helped a lot with acne. So I'll do the cleanser and then I'll treat my skin with a serum and then I'll do a good just daily moisturizer. I have a vitamin C moisturizer that I really like. And then always, always, always do an SPF. And for a lot of people, I really like oil-free SPF. For my skin, I like a moisturizing SPF, but at least 30, 30 SPF or higher.
Okay, that's good to know. I feel like two things you mentioned, I've seen a lot of like back and forth on. The first one is washing your face with just like water in the morning, which is
Yes.
it's what I do too. I felt like my skin got way too overwhelmed if I
Yeah,
tried to do everything that I did at night in the morning. But I
right.
do see a lot of back and forth on that. So it's interesting to hear you talk about that. And same with the sunscreen. Similar to like the tallow, there's like a trend right now of like and I think the quality of your sunscreen matters, right? Like maybe not all sunscreen is bad. I mean, I don't think it is all bad, but there's some sunscreens that maybe have more harsh chemicals in them that can cause, like you said,
Right.
I don't know, breakouts or even just issues with like burning on your skin. So what would be,
Mhm.
you said like 30 SPF. Would you say,
Yes.
I know you mentioned something about oil free. I would assume if that's like, if you have very oily skin, you wouldn't want to have an oily SPF, like an oily sunscreen.
Yes. So on top of with sunscreen in general, I like to say get a broad spectrum sunscreen that has either zinc or titanium oxide in it, 2 to 5% or higher. Um, so that what mineral sunscreen and broad spectrum sunscreen is it sits on top of the skin rather than chemical sunscreen being absorbed in the skin.
Okay,
So instead
interesting.
of yeah, so instead of the UV rays going into your skin and reflecting back off, it it goes on top of your skin and reflects back off rather than so the minerals also don't get absorbed in the skin, so they don't so that the longer you're out in the sun, they're
Hmm.
not absorbed as quickly. So it can kind of help, in my opinion, you don't have to reapply as often and it's going to be better. So it's blocking the UVA and UVB rays rather than just the UVA with chemical sunscreen. So
Okay.
that's some like a quick snippet of sunscreen in my opinion. And then with the oil free, really, I don't think that even just oily skin has to use it. I think any skin type can use it. I use it on myself as well. Because oil-free SPF will just, especially in the summertime when it's hot and humid and you're sweating a lot, it'll just help prevent more sweating as well as I think it helps with reducing acne as well. If you're like worried about that, I would get a oil-free one.
Okay. Okay, so that's what you do then in the morning. You finish with that sunscreen and you
Yes.
do that even like throughout the winter if you live in a colder climate, like all the time.
Yes. Sunscreen is needed if you're inside, not going outside at all. If you're outside, inside, summertime, wintertime, whatever you're doing, sunscreen is necessary. Not necessarily, a lot of people are like, well, I'm not going to be in the sun. But that's kind of a misconception because sunscreen also helps pr protect your skin from environmental damage like pollution.
Mhm.
So, which can also be causes of aging skin. The more that your skin is exposed to pollution and environmental damage as well as UV rays, that'll be like it'll kind of accelerate the aging process in your skin. So sunscreen isn't necessarily just for sun damage, which sun damage is 90% the cause of visible aging, but it also protects your skin from all of the other environmental factors.
Yeah. Would you say like artificial lighting would fall into that category too? Like fluorescent lights? Would those cause
Um,
skin damage or have you seen that?
I Yes, warm lighting is better
Hmm.
than fluorescent lighting and like blue light and white light for the skin, but it's not going to be as harsh as the UV rays, obviously. But
Yeah. So I know too, like another piece of that is the red light therapy is really big right now, which is like
yes,
so counter from the blue light that we're probably exposed to all day long being on our phones or on the computer. So do you use red light therapy too within your practice to help support the skin?
yes. So the hard thing with that is LED light that can definitely help the skin, but it has to be consistent.
Hmm.
So you have to be doing it like almost every single day for a certain amount of time to actually see a lot of good results. Definitely some treatments can't, like not doing it all the time. It can help treat the skin, but it's not going to be long-term treatment. The more consistent you are, the more it will benefit the skin. And different lighting also helps. So red light mostly is for like the aging skin, and then like blue LED light is for acne, and then there's like other ones, but those are the most two common.
Hmm.
The other thing is people find a lot of things on like Amazon or something like that, and they're not necessarily like the actual good quality light. Sometimes they're literally just a colored light rather than the real LED that
Yeah.
will do something for the skin. So really doing your research if you are wanting to do something at home to see if it will benefit your skin.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so hard is like red lights are really expensive if you're getting a high quality, like clinical grade, whatever, red light. I feel like I mean,
Right.
it's way different than just like changing the light bulb in your home
Mhm.
with a red light. Like that's not really even like the same product, I feel like even.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I feel like too, it can get so expensive to, like you said, invest in your skin, which is why like the foundations are so important too, of like you've mentioned multiple times, eating well, probably drinking water. I would assume you would agree with that. Like
Yes.
exercising, sweating, and then moving into like that topical care. And I feel like that like sets you up the best for your like success from what you do in that perspective too, because it's like when people come to you and they're doing those things, you probably see results a lot faster when you focus on what you can do topically for the skin.
Yes. Yes. So I want to share an example. One of my clients previously, she was kind of struggling with her skin. She felt like she was aging really quickly all of a sudden. She's probably in her 40s or something. And she had a lot of different skin concerns as well as like body, skin, all over. And one thing that I noticed was she was eating really great. She was exercising really regularly. She seemed like she was doing all of these great things, but then we asked her about like her alcohol consumption,
Mm.
And alcohol, obviously, it thins the blood out and everything. And I discussed with her, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to say that you're wrong for doing anything, but limiting the amount of alcohol consumption that you have and seeing how you feel, not only how you feel, but how you feel like you look and all of
Mm-hmm.
those different things. I was like, I just recommend trying it out. Just try it out for a little while. I'm not saying like go full on no alcohol ever, but just limiting it. And she significantly said after even just a week or two, after 2 weeks, I think, she was like, I feel better. I feel like I don't look as dull in my skin anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was hard for us to figure out what it was, but she didn't mention that until later. And
Mm-hmm.
so some factors, because she had all of the products, she had all of the exercise and the nutrition, but there's always something that is causing the skin
Mm-hmm.
to be a certain way. So really doing like some internal perspectives to see what in your entire life, what are you doing every single day? What is playing a huge role into your skin concern?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's like thinking about, I love how you mentioned what you're doing every single day. Cause I feel like sometimes things can become so habit that we don't really think twice about it. But if you would
Right.
even just make an adjustment or like alcohol consumption, I feel like when, even you mentioning that, I'm like, okay, when my acne was the worst was probably when I was like a freshman in college. And I think about
Yep.
like the crappy food I was eating, the
Mm-hmm.
alcohol I was drinking. It's like, okay, there's probably, I mean, obviously, like those would be the reasons, but like I think at that point in my life, I still looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, why is this happening? Like, I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm using the right products, and it was still
Yeah.
happening. And that's when I like started on, um, oh, what was the one that Justin Bieber always advertised for? I'm blanking on what it was called. Proactive. I did that
Okay.
like all throughout like junior high and high school, and then it was Curology because you could like send your
Mhm.
skin in. I'm like, nothing is working. And like you said, you have to really look at what you're doing every single day that's contributing to a topical result. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so big, and it's refreshing to hear you say that too, because and something that I really like, even like looking at your through your Instagram and all the education you share on there, is like you are very internal focused. And then obviously topical comes with in conjunction with that or after you really focus on some of those internal factors. Um, I just love that you focus on both because I don't think I see that all the time, and
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
hard because in like my area of expertise, I don't do a lot with topical, especially with the skin because I don't have that education or knowledge
Right.
that you do. And so to hear you have the ability to do and talk about both, I think is really big for clients that you serve too. It just gets them
Yes.
thinking about a lot of different factors versus like, I'm going to go twice a month, or I guess I don't know how regularly you recommend you'd go to an esthetician. Like, I'm not going to go twice a month and then expect all these results if I'm not actually doing the work at home that I need to do to support my skin.
Right. Yeah, and it's like why some people you have to see how willing they are to commit to resolving their concern
Hmm.
because sometimes they're like, okay, I'm going to spend all of this money on getting facials and getting treatments and getting products, but it's almost a waste of money,
Hmm.
especially if they don't go and see an esthetician and they're just seeing like the trending skincare products that which can also be expensive. It's almost a waste of money if you aren't willing to actually do the work internally and be like, okay, what's the real root cause? What
Hmm.
is actually changing this? Because treatments and products, they don't always fix the problem. Maybe,
Hmm.
but that's why I also love seeing clients, is because I like to do really good in-depth consultations
Hmm.
and really helping just create their awareness of knowing that it's not going to be, and also consistency is key.
Yeah.
So with their skincare products and with their daily lifestyle and habits, it's really the consistency that will help. So not all of the trends, not all of the products only. It's consistency in product internal and external.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you follow every trend, it gets really overwhelming to know like
Yeah,
what is right. Because if you're more on like the crunchy side of Instagram, it's like, well, beef tallow and only use beef tallow. But for some people, that doesn't work. So then they're like, well, maybe I should try retinol. But then they try retinol and they don't maybe use like a cleanser or a moisturizer with it. And then their skin has other issues. Like, I think that's where, and you'd probably agree with this, like going to a professional to help like
mhm.
discover first like what type of skin type you have, but also what maybe you are doing topically that's not working, and then get you on a formulated plan in conjunction with what you're doing lifestyle wise.
Right. Yeah. And it really just takes commitment too.
Hmm.
It's not it's not easy, especially if it doesn't if you do need to make some like lifestyle changes. It's not easy, and but you really will see the results from
Hmm.
how much you're willing to commit.
Yes. Yeah. So then how long, I guess, kind of to like to wrap this up and maybe bring comfort to people that are currently struggling with acne, how long does it typically take if somebody focuses on all the things to help like cure the topical appearance of acne?
Well, it depends on the severity of the case.
Hmm.
I would say typically at the very minimum a month. It
Hmm.
can take up to 3 months to see like fully clear skin and full results, but it really is the more consistent that you are,
Hmm.
and that's like the biggest factor. And it's hard because you have to be really patient and you want something to work just right away. And
Hmm.
that's a lot of like how this generation is in the society and in the world is like, okay, we have all this fast food. We want things done really quickly.
Hmm.
But but our bodies just don't work that way, you
Hmm.
know? And sometimes it does clear up right away, but most of the time you just really need to be patient, and you may not see results for a little while, but just staying consistent with the same basic um products, nothing extreme, and then also just really doing your best to improve and create healthy habits in your lifestyle as well.
Yeah, it's what nobody wants to hear, but there is really no quick fix. For
Yes.
most things that are long lasting, there's not a quick fix. Like if you want to have clear skin long term, you can't have it resolve in a week or even a month,
Right.
or for some people like even 3 months. Like it all just takes time, which is really hard. Even going back to like when you're in fifth grade and you start having breakouts and you don't know what to do and you don't know what's going on and you've just started wearing makeup, like you feel really self-conscious, so you want something to fix it right away. Like I remember using like toothpaste. Like I had seen somewhere, oh, if you put toothpaste on your acne, it'll go away. Like I think we could all come up with so many like remedies that we've maybe seen or tried for our skin, but like finding what works for you and your skin specifically, I think ultimately is like what like the route that you should take when it comes
Right.
to supporting your skin, and specifically with acne. I think just a lot of
Yeah.
people struggle with that, which is why I wanted you to talk about that so much, because I see it a lot, and I think it's reassuring to hear you say like it really just takes time, and
Right.
using and doing the right things, it still just takes time.
Yeah, and to go with that is like specifically in aging skin or hyperpigmentation, it takes years to
Hmm.
get to see like, oh, my skin's sagging, I'm getting wrinkles, I'm getting all of this hyperpigmentation. It doesn't come right away. So
Hmm.
all of those years of damage, it takes a long time to reverse it. It's not going to be a quick fix for a long-term damage. And with acne, there's so many other factors included.
Hmm.
It's not just like, "Oh, I never wore sunscreen," or something like that. It's so many other factors. So that's another reason why it takes a little bit of time and
Yes.
patience.
Yeah, it's usually a compounding issue. Like there's things that
Mhm.
have stacked upon things that have caused this result.
Right.
Okay, so if you could leave people with like 1 to 3, outside of the foundational components, because we know diet, lifestyle, all those factors, but if you could leave somebody with like 3 types of products 1 to 3 products you'd recommend that they start if they feel like they're breaking out often or frequently, what would those be?
Like topical products,
Yes.
like skincare products. Same, starting with gentle cleanser, gentle moisturizer, and then a treatment
Mhm.
serum, and then also always SPF.
Yes. Yes, for your sunscreen, which I listening to you talk about that, I'm like, okay, I need to be a little bit better about the sunscreen. Could you drop
Yeah.
like your favorite sunscreen, like the name of it too? Because I think for me, like I see all these different types of sunscreen out there, but I don't really know if I can trust the brand. So what is one that you would like, know, and trust? A brand of sunscreen.
Yeah. My the sunscreen that I use personally is from Glymed,
Okay.
and I use their moisturizing sunscreen, but I've seen a lot of people really like the La Roche-Posay tinted SPF, the mineral tinted SPF
Yeah.
50. I've
Okay.
seen a lot of people really like that and have good results with it. I haven't
Okay.
personally tried it yet myself, but that is the next on the list to try. So,
Yeah, that is hard too from your perspective because you can't just like trial these products that people have found and like because your own skin would get overwhelmed. Like
exactly.
it's a little different than like from a food perspective if somebody's like, "Oh, I really like this." It's like, "Okay, I'll try that." But for you, you
Mhm.
don't want to overwhelm your skin with trying everything under the sun either.
Exactly. Yeah. That's another thing that's pretty hard. And so I'm like starting with the one line that I really know and trust, and I get educated from them once or
Mhm.
twice a month already. So I really like and know and trust that. But I have to also start trying the skincare products that you can get from the store so that I can relate to my clients as well.
Yes, yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, good.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Riley, for just sharing your knowledge. And I've never had an esthetician on the podcast, so it's really insightful to hear you just talk about skin and get more information about like what kind of products you should be using or could use consistently to see obviously the results that you want to. I think it's hard because and I would be curious your opinion. Like, do you feel like your skin is maybe the last thing that you notice sees the benefit from doing internal work? Like, if you're really trying to heal from the inside out?
I That one's hard
Hmm.
because sometimes it's one of the first things to show up.
Hmm.
Sometimes you'll start getting acne because you ate a really bad week of processed foods,
Right.
and that it's like immediately you'll see it on your face, but sometimes it does take a long time. So it's kind of it depends.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's true. It's I feel like topical reactions are a good like I mean honestly a positive symptom. I think in the past I'd get so frustrated. I'm like I said, why am I breaking out? But it is like one of the first things you see because we look at ourselves in the mirror, on the phone, or on social media,
right,
and it's like, okay, there's something going on. Like what can we do
right.
to fix this? So I like, yeah, obviously like it goes kind of both ways.
Yeah.
Well, Riley, can you share your information? Where can people connect with you? Share your social media. I don't know if you do virtual consults or anything like that, but if you do, drop all of your information.
Okay. I would love to do some virtual consults. I have that in the works that I'm going to start trying to do, but not yet. So I have an Instagram. I call it Your Skin Expert Riley, and it's Riley. And yeah, I try to post once or twice a week with a bunch of skincare education, as well as I have my product line Glymed that I promote and share information on them. So that's how you can connect with me. But yeah. And
Perfect.
then yeah, I'm located in Utah, by the way, for
Okay.
whoever.
Whoever's in the area,
Yes.
anybody listening. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Riley. And I'll have all that information linked in the description of today's episode too, so people can get connected with you. But yes, your Instagram is a great resource for just all types of education. You've got a lot of good information on there. So I'll, of course, link that
Thank you.
below. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so much.
Riley, for being a guest on today's podcast.
Yes, thank you so much.